Chloe looked in the mirror and sighed. Outside, the city lights were bright, reflecting the constant movement of a world that never stopped. At 34, she had everything she had ever dreamed of professionally. A respectable position at a renowned company, a modern apartment with a panoramic view, and the financial freedom to do whatever she wanted. But when she stared at her own reflection, she felt a void that success could not fill. She remembered the lively conversations she used to have with her friends, where they would laugh about how all the interesting men seemed to be married or unavailable. At the time, she had thought it was funny and dismissed it as a big deal. She had focused on her career and believed that eventually she would find someone special. But as time passed, the laughter gave way to a feeling of loneliness. Over the past few months, Chloe had begun to notice changes in her routine. Her friends, who had once been there and available, were now busy with husbands, children, and household responsibilities. The invitations to go out dwindled, and the casual encounters turned into quick, empty messages. She felt increasingly isolated. She slowly realized that she was the only one in her social circle who came home to an empty apartment every night. She had no one to share her work triumphs with or her daily frustrations with. The silent walls began to weigh her down, and the freedom she had once prided herself on became a burden. The feeling of emptiness grew even stronger when she attended a dinner party to celebrate her best friend Olivia's birthday. Surrounded by smiling couples, Chloe felt out of place. The conversations revolved around home renovations, children's schools, and family trips. She had nothing to add. Her world was different. The lonely nights, the weekends without plans, and the solo trips became painfully evident. Back at her apartment that night, Chloe couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling for hours, trying to figure out how she had gotten to this point. She had always been independent, determined to build her own career and achieve her dreams. So why did she feel like something was missing? Why did success feel so empty? It was that early morning that Chloe made a decision. There was no point in pretending that everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. She needed a change. She needed to make room for something new in her life. She didn't just want someone to fill the silence, but a partner with whom she could share her experiences, dreams, and challenges. Determined to take her personal life in a new direction, Chloe decided to step out of her comfort zone. She would open her heart to new possibilities, meet new people, and allow herself to experience something different. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was willing to try. Deep down, she felt that something special was waiting for her. She just had to take the first step. The following weekend, Chloe decided she needed a breath of fresh air. She packed her bags and headed to a small coastal town known for its quiet beaches and spectacular sunsets. She needed some time for herself, away from the hustle and bustle of the city and the thoughts that tormented her. She wanted to reconnect with her essence and, who knows, find meaning in that emptiness. As soon as she arrived at the hotel, she was amazed by the breathtaking view. The balcony of her room looked out onto the ocean, where the waves danced gently under the golden glow of the sun. Chloe smiled for the first time in weeks. It was exactly what she needed. For the first few days, she took the time to relax, walking along the deserted beach, feeling the soft sand under her feet and the cool wind ruffling her hair. She carried a book in her hand, but she rarely read. She preferred to gaze at the horizon, let her thoughts flow, and allow herself to feel. For the first time in a long time, she had no deadlines, urgent emails, or endless meetings to occupy her mind. One such afternoon, while walking absent-mindedly along the shore, Chloe tripped over a shell and almost fell. Laughing at her own carelessness, she bent down to pick up the shiny object, and when she stood up, she was met with a pair of intense blue eyes. He was standing there, an amused smile on his lips, watching her. "It looks like the beach is trying to knock you down," the stranger joked in a relaxed tone. "Yeah, I guess she doesn't like clumsy tourists very much," Chloe replied, trying to hide her embarrassment. "I wouldn't say clumsy, maybe just absent-minded." The man held out his hand. "I'm Lucas." "Chloe." She shook his hand, feeling the firmness and warmth of his touch. Lucas's smile was captivating, and Chloe couldn't help but notice his appearance. Tall, with wind-torn brown hair and a piercing gaze that seemed to see right through her. He wore a casual white shirt and light pants, like someone who was used to living near the sea. "Are you from here?" Chloe asked, trying to hide her interest. "No, I'm just passing through. I like to travel without a fixed destination. Taking it one day at a time." He paused, looking out at the horizon. "What about you?" Chloe hesitated for a moment. She didn't want to seem needy, but she didn't want to lie either. "I just needed a break from everything. I think I came here to find some peace." Lucas nodded, as if he understood exactly what she was feeling. Sometimes, escaping is the best way to find yourself. He smiled again, and Chloe felt a strange warmth in her chest. The conversation flowed naturally. They walked along the beach while talking about their favorite places in the world, their favorite songs, and the dreams they still had to fulfill. Chloe couldn't remember the last time she had felt so comfortable with someone. It was as if she had known Lucas for years, even though she had only just met him. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Lucas turned to Chloe and asked, "How? About watching the sunset with me? I promise I'm good company." Chloe hesitated for a moment, but her heart had already made up her mind. "I'd love to." They sat on the sand side by side, in silence, just enjoying the natural spectacle before them. Chloe felt light, free of the worries she had been carrying for so long. Unsure of what fate had in store, she allowed herself to live in that moment without rushing, without expectations. And for the first time in a long time, she felt that something new was about to begin. In the days that followed, Chloe and Lucas began to run into each other casually on the beach. At first, it was always by chance, a bump into each other at the local ice cream shop, a distant wave as they walked along the shore. But over time, these encounters became intentional. They would arrange to meet at dusk to watch the sunset or have a coffee at the charming bistro in the village. Chloe couldn't remember the last time she'd felt so light. Lucas had an infectious energy, always with a funny story to tell or a deep reflection on life. He was unlike any man she'd ever met. He didn't seem concerned with status, career, or material possessions. Living simply and authentically, he valued moments and experiences over possessions. One afternoon, as they were walking along the beach, Lucas stopped abruptly, taking Chloe by surprise. "You know what would be perfect right now?" "What?" she asked curiously. "A boat ride. Do you like sailing?" Chloe laughed. "I've never been on a boat in my life." "Then it's time to cross that off your list." He smiled, pulling her by the hand. They walked to a small pier, where a simple but charming boat was waiting for them. Lucas helped Chloe aboard, and soon they were sailing across the calm waters, surrounded by the golden glow of the sun reflecting off the sea. The salty breeze ruffled Chloe's hair, and she couldn't stop smiling. "This is amazing," she exclaimed, feeling more alive than ever. "I knew you would like it," Lucas replied, skillfully adjusting the sails. "It's hard not to fall in love with this place." They continued sailing for hours, talking about dreams, fears, and childhood memories. Lucas told her about his travels around the world, how he liked to discover new cultures and explore the unknown. Chloe was fascinated by his adventurous spirit. As the sun began to set, Lucas anchored the boat at a strategic point where the horizon seemed endless. He took out a small picnic basket he had hidden and opened a bottle of wine. Chloe couldn't help but laugh in surprise. Did you plan all this? Maybe. He winked at her. I just wanted a reason to spend more time with you. Chloe felt her cheeks flush. It was hard not to be charmed by Lucas's uncomplicated and sincere manner. They toasted the sunset, laughing and talking as if time didn't exist. As the sky turned orange and pink, Chloe realized she was falling in love. Every smile, every word, every gesture Lucas made her feel special. She didn't know what the future held, but at that moment, it didn't matter. As night fell, the stars appeared in the sky like tiny sparks of light. Lucas moved a little closer, their shoulders touching gently. That's the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen, Chloe whispered, her eyes shining. I agree, Lucas replied, looking directly at her. But I think it's not just the view. Chloe felt butterflies in her stomach, her heart racing. What do you mean by that? Lucas smiled, slowly moving closer. You made me see the world in a different way, Chloe. I didn't expect that. Before she could respond, he kissed her softly. It was a sweet, tender kiss, full of silent promises. Chloe closed her eyes, surrendering herself to the moment, feeling the warmth of Lucas's lips, the delicate touch of his hands. When they separated, they both smiled, a mix of surprise and happiness written on their faces. The comfortable silence that followed said everything they needed to know. In that moment, under the stars and over the calm waters, Chloe realized that this unexpected encounter was transforming her life in ways she had never imagined. The following days were like a dream. Chloe and Lucas began to see each other every day, exploring every corner of that small coastal town. They laughed together, shared stories, and discovered an inexplicable affinity in each other. It was as if destiny had decided to cross their paths at the perfect moment. One morning, Lucas appeared at the door of the hotel where Chloe was staying, holding a vintage bicycle with a basket on the front. "Good morning, sleepyhead," he said, with a mischievous smile. "Are you ready for an adventure?" Chloe laughed, still in her pajamas. "You don't stop, do you? Life is too short to stay still." He winked. "Go get ready. I have a surprise for you." She couldn't resist his enthusiasm. Within minutes, she was ready, and the two of them were cycling through the cobblestone streets of the village. The wind ruffled her hair, and Chloe felt a freedom she hadn't experienced in a long time. They stopped at a local market, where they sampled fresh fruit, homemade pastries, and listened to street musicians play enchanting melodies. Lucas bought a seashell bracelet and gently placed it on Chloe's wrist. "So you'll remember this day." He smiled. "As if I would forget," Chloe murmured, touched by the simple but meaningful gesture. The day passed in the blink of an eye. They went to the beach, laughed as they tried to surf, and watched the sunset sitting on the sand, their feet gently touching the icy water. Chloe felt complete with Lucas. Every moment with him was magical, full of meaning. That night, they went to a charming restaurant by the sea. Lucas chose a table on the terrace under a starry sky, where the sea breeze gently caressed their faces. "You have a gift for making every moment special. You know that?" Chloe commented, looking at him with admiration. "It's not the moment that's special," Lucas replied, looking her in the eyes. "It's the person I'm with." Chloe was speechless. Her heart raced, and she felt a pleasant butterflies in her stomach. Lucas held her hand across the table, his eyes shining with sincerity. "I didn't plan any of this, Chloe. I didn't expect to find someone like you. But now that I have, I don't want to let you go." Those words touched Chloe deeply. It was everything she had ever wanted to hear, everything she needed to believe that this love was real. She squeezed his hand gently, feeling connected in a way she had never felt before. They had dinner by candlelight, talking about the future, dreams, and plans. Lucas made her laugh with his travel stories, and Chloe shared her fears and insecurities, feeling safe to be vulnerable with him. After dinner, they walked hand in hand along the beach, the waves whispering secrets at their feet. When they stopped to look out at the moonlit sea, Lucas wrapped his arms around Chloe, hugging her tenderly. "Promise me you'll remember this moment forever," he whispered. "How could I forget?" Chloe replied, feeling protected and loved. They stood there, hugging each other in silence, just enjoying each other's presence. Chloe felt blessed to have found Lucas. It was as if she had finally found what was missing in her life. But even in the most perfect moments, life has its surprises. What Chloe didn't know was that behind that charming smile, Lucas was hiding secrets that could change everything. After unforgettable days with Lucas, Chloe decided to share her happiness with her best friend, Olivia. They had always been like sisters, confiding everything in each other. As soon as she got back to the hotel, she called Olivia, who answered with an excited tone. "Chloe, you're alive. I thought you got lost on that trip." Chloe laughed, her heart racing with excitement. "Oh, Olivia, I need to tell you something." For almost an hour, Chloe talked nonstop. She described every detail of how she met Lucas, the laughs they shared, the unforgettable outings, and how he seemed so perfect. Olivia listened to everything in silence, but on the other end of the line, her eyes narrowed suspiciously. "And he's perfect like that, all of a sudden?" Olivia questioned, a cautious tone in her voice. "It's not that he's perfect, it's just that everything seems so easy with him, you know?" Chloe sighed dreamily. "I've never felt so connected to anyone." Olivia paused, considering her words. "And do you know anything about his past? Like previous relationships? Family? Work?" Chloe was silent for a moment. She realized she knew very little about Lucas. He always talked about his travels and adventures, but he never mentioned any close friends or family. Nor did he talk about where he lived or what he did for a living. At the time, it hadn't seemed important, but now, faced with Olivia's questions, she felt a twinge of unease. "Actually, no. He's kind of secretive about it," Chloe admitted, trying not to sound worried. "Chloe," Olivia's tone was serious. "I've known you for years. You've never been so easily led astray. I'm just saying be careful. He could be a great guy, or he could be hiding something." Chloe fell silent, processing her friend's words. "Do you think I'm being naive?" "I'm not." Olivia sighed. "I just don't want you to get hurt. I've seen too many stories of guys who are perfect at first, but then reveal secrets that destroy everything. Just take it easy, okay?" Although Olivia's words were spoken with affection, they made Chloe uneasy. After they hung up, she stared out the hotel window at the ocean, remembering every moment she had spent with Lucas. Everything seemed so genuine, so real. But at the same time, she realized she knew almost nothing about him. Trying to push her doubts aside, Chloe decided she would ask Lucas directly the next time they met. She wanted to know more about his life, his plans, and his past. She needed answers to calm the restlessness that was now disturbing her heart. The next day, while they were having coffee in a charming bistro, Chloe decided to broach the subject. "Lucas, I noticed you never talk much about your life. What did you do before you came here?" Lucas hesitated for a moment, but soon regained his carefree smile. "Oh, I'm just a guy who likes to travel and live in the present. I don't dwell too much on the past, you know?" He took a sip of his coffee, looking away toward the window. "But if you must know, I used to have a pretty ordinary life, boring job, dull routine. That's why I decided to drop everything and travel the world." Chloe tried not to show it, but she was disappointed by his vague answer. Still, she didn't want to press him. She watched him as he spoke passionately about the trips he'd taken, the incredible places he'd visited, and the people he'd met. It was hard to doubt someone so charismatic. They continued the day together, laughing exploring the small town and sharing magical moments. But deep down, Olivia's words kept echoing in Chloe's mind. What if he's hiding something? That night, as she said goodbye to Lucas at the hotel door, Chloe looked him in the eyes and asked, "You're being honest with me, aren't you?" Lucas seemed surprised but smiled softly. "Chloe, I would never lie to you. You're the most honest person I've met in a long time." He kissed her tenderly, and for a moment, all of Chloe's doubts disappeared. But as soon as Lucas walked away and disappeared into the night, the butterflies in her stomach returned. She couldn't explain why, but something inside her told her there was more to this story than Lucas was revealing. Chloe lay in bed, staring at the dark ceiling, feeling torn between the love that was beginning to grow and the distrust she couldn't shake. The romance between Chloe and Lucas continued to blossom, with days filled with laughter, carefree walks, and unforgettable nights under the starry sky. They were getting closer and closer, and Chloe felt like she had finally found someone special. However, Olivia's voice still echoed in her mind, planting seeds of doubt that she tried to ignore. One night, while they were having dinner at a restaurant by the sea, Chloe noticed that Lucas was more thoughtful than usual. He was staring at the horizon with a distant air, as if carrying an invisible weight. "Is everything okay?" Chloe asked, worried. Lucas smiled, but his gaze remained sad. "Yeah, it's just, sometimes it's hard to escape the past." Before Chloe could ask more, Lucas's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and immediately hung up. Chloe couldn't help but notice the name Amelia popping up before he hid the phone in his pocket. "Who was that?" she asked casually, trying not to sound suspicious. "Oh, no one important." Lucas looked away, trying to change the subject. "Shall we talk about something else?" Chloe's heart sank. This was the first time Lucas had seemed uncomfortable around her, and for the first time, she felt like he was hiding something. The next day, Chloe decided to clear up her doubts. She went back to the restaurant where they had eaten the night before and asked the waiter if he knew Lucas. The young man frowned thoughtfully. "Yeah, he comes here every now and then, usually with a woman." "A woman?" Chloe asked, her stomach churning. "Yes, a brunette. They seem quite close." The waiter shrugged, not noticing the shock on Chloe's face. Feeling betrayed, Chloe left the restaurant, her heart pounding. She tried to push away the negative thoughts, telling herself that there could be a reasonable explanation for all of this. But deep down, she knew she had to confront Lucas. That night, as they walked hand in hand along the beach, Chloe finally gathered the courage to ask, "Lucas, who's Amelia?" Lucas's face paled, and he stopped walking. How do you know about her?" "You hung up the phone yesterday when she called, and the waiter told me that you usually come here with a woman, a brunette." Lucas ran a hand through his hair, clearly shaken. He took a deep breath, avoiding Chloe's gaze. "I didn't want you to know like this." Chloe's heart sank. She knew what was coming. "You're married, aren't you?" Lucas closed his eyes, guilt written all over his face. "Yes, I am married." Chloe's world fell apart. Her legs felt shaky, and she had to lean on a rock to keep from falling. "How could you?" Her voice was shaky, full of pain. "You've been lying to me this whole time." "Chloe, please listen to me," Lucas begged, his voice cracking. "I didn't want to fall in love with you. It wasn't in my plans. Then why did you approach me? Why did you make me believe I had a future with you?" Tears streamed down Chloe's face, mixing with the salty sea wind. "Because I'm unhappy. My marriage has been in ruins for years. Amelia and I have only been married on paper. There's no love, there's no happiness. I was lost and then I met you." Chloe felt her chest tighten. Part of her wanted to believe Lucas, wanted to trust his words and hug him, telling him everything would be okay. But the other part was broken, hurt by the betrayal. "You used my trust, you lied to me. How can I believe anything you say now?" Lucas stepped closer, trying to hold Chloe's hands, but she recoiled. I didn't know how to tell him. I just wanted more time with you. And how long did you intend to deceive me? Chloe cried, feeling the pain of disappointment burning in her chest. Were you going to keep deceiving me until you went back to your wife like nothing had happened? Lucas didn't answer. His guilty expression said it all. Chloe took a step back, wiping away her tears furiously. I loved you, she confessed, her voice breaking. I let myself believe in you, and you destroyed everything. She turned and began to walk across the sand, trying to hold back her tears. Lucas called out to her, but Chloe didn't look back. She didn't want him to see how hurt she was. She didn't want to give him the power to see her so vulnerable. As she walked alone under the starry sky, Chloe felt as if the ground had lost its hold beneath her feet. Everything she had believed about Lucas had been a lie, and the love that had begun to blossom was now nothing more than a bitter illusion. That night, lying in bed at the hotel, Chloe cried until she couldn't cry anymore. And as the sun rose over the horizon, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Chloe returned to the city, feeling empty. On the flight back, she stared out the window of the plane, trying to hold back the tears as the clouds passed quickly below her. Memories of Lucas came to her in painful flashes. His smile, the walks on the beach, the sunsets they shared. It all seemed so real. But now it was all just a lie. When she landed, Olivia was waiting for her at the airport. As soon as she saw her friend's face, Olivia opened her arms and Chloe collapsed into her embrace. I was so stupid, Chloe whispered, her voice shaking. He lied to me the whole time. You weren't stupid, Chloe. You were just human. You believed in love. In the days that followed, Chloe tried to move on. She threw herself into her work, filling her mind with deadlines, meetings, and reports. But even surrounded by colleagues and tasks, she couldn't forget Lucas. His words still echoed in her mind. I didn't want to fall in love with you. Was he telling the truth? Olivia tried to distract her, dragging her to coffee shops, movies, and even meeting up with other friends. But nothing seemed to help. Chloe found herself constantly checking her phone, waiting for a message, a call, anything that would make her understand what had gone wrong. And then, one day, the phone rang. It was an unknown number, but Chloe knew exactly who it was before she even answered. Chloe, it's me, Lucas. Her heart raced, but she tried to keep her voice steady. What do you want? I needed to talk to you. I miss you. Chloe closed her eyes, fighting back tears. It was so easy to believe him, so easy to forget everything that had happened when she heard that voice. But she needed to be strong. You lied to me, Lucas. You deceived me. I know, and I'm sorry. His voice sounded genuinely sad. But none of what I felt for you was a lie. I still love you, Chloe. The words hit her like a punch to the gut. Chloe felt her heart race, a mix of anger and longing. But she couldn't give in. Are you still with her? Chloe asked, knowing she didn't want to hear the answer. Yes, things are complicated. I can't just leave the house. Chloe gripped her phone tightly, trying to contain her frustration. You used me, Lucas. You wanted to escape your mediocre life, and I was your distraction. No, Chloe, it was never like that. You were the most real thing that ever happened to me. Chloe fell silent, her heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. She wanted to believe. She wanted so badly for everything to be different. But nothing would change the fact that he was married. I can't do that, Lucas. Her voice was weak but firm. I deserve more than being someone's second best. She hung up before he could respond, feeling both relieved and devastated. She put the phone away and collapsed onto the couch, the tears finally streaming down her face. She still loved him, but she knew she had to let him go. For weeks, Chloe had struggled with the pain. She had tried to move on, but she felt like something inside her was broken. Olivia had done her best to cheer her up, but Chloe had remained stuck in the past. She couldn't stop thinking about Lucas, about the broken promises, the dreams that would never come true. One afternoon, while she was walking through the park to clear her head, Chloe saw a couple sitting on a bench, laughing as they shared an ice cream. It was a simple moment, but full of love and complicity. She found herself imagining what it would be like to have that with Lucas, what it would be like to have true love without lies or secrets. It was in that moment that Chloe realized she had to make a choice. She could continue to hold on to an impossible love, or she could choose herself, choose her own happiness, her own worth. She didn't want to be the other. She didn't want to live in someone else's shadow. Determined to move on, Chloe deleted Lucas's number from her phone and deleted all of her old messages. She saved the photos in a hidden folder on her computer, where she couldn't look at them every day. She knew the pain would still be there, but at least she was taking the first step toward moving on. Chloe promised herself that she would never again settle for less than she deserved. She deserved to be loved fully, without reservations or secrets. She deserved someone who would choose her first. And most of all, she deserved the peace that only comes when you decide to let go of the past. Chloe was determined to move on. Erasing the memory of Lucas was a difficult but necessary step. She threw herself into work, started going to yoga classes, and started hanging out with friends again. Little by little, she began rebuilding her routine, trying to fill the void he had left. But despite all of her efforts, Chloe still thought about him. In his captivating smile, in the way he made her laugh, in the unforgettable moments they shared. Every corner of the city seemed to remind her of some detail of Lucas, as if he were everywhere and nowhere at the same time. A month passed, and Chloe began to feel like she was finally getting back to normal. However, everything changed when she received an unexpected email from Lucas. "I need to see you. I can't move on without you. Please meet me at our special place. I'll explain everything." Lucas. Chloe read the message over and over, her heart pounding. She felt a whirlwind of emotions: anger, longing, fear, hope. She wanted to ignore it, delete the email, and move on with her life, but she couldn't. Deep down, she still wanted to understand why Lucas had done all that. On the appointed day, Chloe went to the agreed-upon place, the beach where they had met. The cold wind from the sea shivered her skin as she waited, anxious and apprehensive. It wasn't long before Lucas showed up, with the same charming smile and regretful look. "Chloe, I didn't know if you would come." He spoke, his voice soft. "I shouldn't have come," Chloe replied, trying to keep her posture firm. "You said you would explain. So speak." Lucas took a step forward, but respected the distance she kept. "I lied to you, and I can't apologize enough for that. But I need you to know, everything I felt for you is real. I never planned to fall in love. It happened." Chloe crossed her arms, trying to hide the pain she still felt. "If it was so real, why are you still with her?" Lucas lowered his head, looking defeated. "It's complicated. I wanted to end it, but we have a history, responsibilities. She doesn't know about us, and I didn't want to hurt her. So you lie to both of them," Chloe replied, her voice full of disappointment. "You wanted what you wanted. Best of both worlds." "It wasn't like that." Lucas tried to argue, but Chloe interrupted him. "You had to choose Lucas, and you chose to stay with her." Lucas looked at the floor, shame written all over his face. "I wanted to choose you, Chloe. I tried, but I'm a coward. I'm afraid of changing my whole life." His words hit Chloe like a blow. She expected a justification, an explanation that would make all the suffering worth it. But all she heard was confirmation that he was too weak to fight for them. "I'm not a consolation prize, Lucas. I deserve someone who chooses me first, without fear." Lucas tried to hold her hand, but Chloe pulled away. "You destroyed everything," she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "I believed in you. and you broke me. Lucas began but couldn't continue. He knew he had ruined everything. Don't look for me anymore, Chloe stated, her voice trembling but determined. I'm going to move on without you. Before Lucas could answer, Chloe turned and started walking down the beach, the tears finally escaping. She felt betrayed, broken, but also relieved. She had said everything she needed to. There was nothing left to fix. In the days that followed, Lucas sent her messages, tried to call her, but Chloe ignored them all. She blocked his number and deleted his email. Each time she resisted the urge to respond, she felt a little stronger. Olivia was proud of her friend, helping her rebuild her confidence and believe in love again. Chloe knew it wouldn't be easy, but she also knew she wasn't alone. She had friends, family, and most of all, she had herself. She started going to new places, meeting new people, and rediscovering hobbies she had forgotten. Little by little, the smile returned to her face, this time stronger and more genuine. And although her chest still tightened when she thought of Lucas, Chloe realized that he no longer had any power over her. She had freed herself from the pain, the lies, and the illusions. That night, as she watched the sunset, Chloe smiled. Life went on, and finally, she was ready to move on. Time passed, and Chloe learned to live without Lucas. But despite all her efforts, there were days when she missed him and the memories came crashing down like unexpected waves. She wondered if he had managed to move on, if he still thought about her, or if he was still with Amelia, pretending nothing had happened. Even though her heart was still hurting, Chloe knew she needed to truly heal. She was tired of carrying that pain, of feeling trapped in a past she couldn't change. It was time to make a definitive decision. That was when she decided to do something she had been avoiding for months. Confront her past once and for all. She picked up her phone and unlocked Lucas's number. She hesitated for a moment, her finger hovering over his name, before finally pressing call. Lucas's voice answered on the second ring, surprised and hesitant. Chloe, you called me? We need to talk. Her voice was firm, even though her heart was racing. I need closure. They arranged to meet at the cafe, where they had their first official date. Chloe arrived first and sat at a table far away, trying to calm her anxiety. She looked at her reflection in the window and realized how much she had changed since that day. She was no longer the naive woman who had fallen in love with Lucas. She was someone stronger, wiser, and ready to face the truth. Lucas arrived shortly after, his face carrying a mixture of surprise and relief. He sat across from her, his eyes fixed on Chloe's face, as if he couldn't believe she was really there. I thought you would never look for me again. He began, but Chloe interrupted him. I didn't come to go back. I came because I need closure. A real one. Lucas lowered his gaze, running his hands through his hair in a nervous gesture. I know I hurt you, and I don't expect you to forgive me. But I never lied about how I felt about you. You lied about everything else, Chloe replied, her voice calm but firm. About who you were, about your life, and about your wife. Lucas fell silent, guilt written all over his face. I didn't know how to tell you. I was afraid of losing you. You lost me the moment you decided to deceive me. Chloe looked him in the eyes, determined not to let her emotions get the better of her. You made a choice, and you chose to lie. I never wanted to hurt you, Lucas whispered, his voice cracking. I just wanted to escape my own life. And you made me feel free. You used my feelings to escape your problems. Chloe shook her head, disappointed. But it's not fair to put that on me. Lucas fell silent, unable to defend himself. Chloe took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the words lift from her shoulders. I love you. I loved you, she continued, her voice breaking. But I deserve more than being someone's second choice. I deserve to be someone's choice. Lucas looked like he was about to say something, but stopped himself. He knew Chloe was right. I could never break up with Amelia. I couldn't face the consequences. He admitted defeated. I was a coward. Chloe felt the tears welling up, but she didn't let them fall. She didn't want to cry in front of him. "I forgive you, Lucas," she said, her voice soft and sincere. "Not for you, but for me. I need to move on." Lucas nodded slowly, his eyes brimming with tears. "You deserve to be happy, Chloe, and I hope you find someone who loves you the way you deserve." "I will," Chloe replied with a half smile, "because I'm choosing myself right now." She stood up, grabbed her bag, and looked at Lucas one last time. "Goodbye, Lucas. I hope one day you find the courage you need to be honest with yourself." Lucas just nodded, his eyes sad and regretful. Chloe left the cafe with her head held high, feeling lighter than ever. It was painful to say goodbye, but it was also liberating. She had finally closed that chapter. On the way home, Chloe felt the wind on her face, a wind of renewal. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to start over. She was ready to live her own story, without lies or illusions. And, most of all, she was ready to love herself again. Months had passed since Chloe said goodbye to Lucas. At first, it was difficult. She had to learn to deal with his absence, with the void left by unfulfilled promises and with the memories of the moments they shared. But, over time, the wounds began to heal. She stopped asking herself, "What if?" and began to focus on herself, her happiness, and the future that lay ahead of her. With Olivia's support, Chloe threw herself into new experiences. She took a photography class, started practicing yoga regularly, and even took a solo trip to a wellness retreat in the mountains. For the first time in a long time, she was putting herself first, and it made her realize how much she had neglected her own happiness while trying to fix someone else's life. One sunny afternoon, Chloe was walking through the park, enjoying the gentle breeze and watching the leaves fall. It was then that she heard a familiar voice calling her name. "Chloe, is that you?" She turned and was surprised to see a face from her past. "Ryan." She smiled, remembering the childhood friend she hadn't seen in years. "What are you doing here?" "I recently moved back to the city. I got offered an interesting job, and I thought it was time for a change of scenery," he replied, with that warm smile that Chloe always remembered. "What about you? How's life?" Chloe shrugged, laughing softly. "Oh, ups and downs. But I'm okay now. I think I've finally found my balance." They spent the rest of the afternoon walking and talking. Ryan made her laugh with his funny stories about travels and struggles in old jobs. Chloe felt comfortable and light next to him, as if no time had passed. When the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, Ryan invited her to a coffee on the corner of the park. They continued their lively conversation, talking about dreams, challenges, and childhood memories. Chloe was surprised to realize how much Ryan had matured. He was different, more confident, but he still had the same kind and generous heart that she had always admired. Chloe, I always wondered what it would have been like if we hadn't lost touch," Ryan confessed, a sincere gleam in his eyes. "You've always been special to me." Chloe was surprised by the confession, feeling butterflies in her stomach that she hadn't felt in a long time. "I thought about that too," she admitted, blushing slightly. "But I guess things happened at the right time." Ryan smiled, nodding in agreement. "Then maybe this is our time." Chloe felt her heart race, but this time it wasn't fear. It was hope. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to believe in love again. Not a love full of secrets and illusions, but a true love built on trust and respect. In the following months, Chloe and Ryan began to see each other more often. They went to the movies, had picnics in the park, and even tried a few dance lessons together, which led to a lot of laughter. Everything seemed so natural, so light. Chloe realized that she was living exactly what she had always wanted, a simple, honest, and loving relationship. Olivia was delighted to see her friend blossoming again. "I knew you would find someone who deserved you," she said, hugging Chloe proudly. "You just needed to learn to love yourself first." And it was true. Chloe wasn't just in a new relationship. She had rediscovered her worth, her joy in life, and her ability to love without fear. She didn't need Ryan to be happy, but loving him was a choice that made her life even more complete. One starry night, as they walked hand in hand along the beach, Ryan stopped abruptly, looking into her eyes with a soft smile. "You know you changed my life, don't you?" he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I thought I was complete before I met you again, but now I realize that you were always missing." Chloe felt her eyes well up, her heart pounding. She remembered all the tears, all the pain she had felt in the past, and somehow it all made sense. Every disappointment, every wrong choice, it had all led her to that moment. "And I thought I wouldn't be able to love again," she whispered, smiling through her tears. "But you made me believe again." Ryan gently pulled her into a tight hug, their hearts beating in rhythm. "So, what do you say to a fresh start?" he asked, his lips gently brushing hers. "I think it's perfect," Chloe replied before kissing him with all the intensity of a new beginning. And there, under the stars that had witnessed her pain, Chloe found the love she had always deserved. Not the idealized or impossible love, but the real love built on truth, friendship, and respect. She had finally closed the loop on the past and was ready to start a new chapter, a chapter full of possibilities, hope, and genuine happiness. Chloe had finally chosen herself, and in doing so, she had paved the way for true love.